Jimmy Dore and Graham Elwood are military shills. Here's the proof. They are tied to the hip of Convo Couch and all those other, quote, dirtbag left, unquote, channels. Just look it up. Search Convo Couch, Jimmy Dore. It's called Tied to the Hip. It's called Sutured. It's called They Plug Every Show. It's incestuous. They keep plugging one another. Looks like Graham Elwood graduated from community college about 10 years ago, and fairly soon after, he was promoted by Disney. He was in Afghanistan, putting on his stupid whiny man act for the military. Jimmy Dore is tied to the hip of Cenk Uygur. No one would know who Jimmy Dore is if it wasn't for the Young Turks. They are targeting soldiers and military. That is my conclusion. There's no other explanation to myself why they would make it so obvious they are pro-military. That's why they're plugging this Free Assange thing. They try to make it seem organic, but it's not happening. They put on protests and no one but themselves shows up. The word gaslighting comes up and Shanda acts funny. They trigger themselves.
Somebody made a couple of points to our friendly squad members that they want them to stop being Twitter celebrities and start representing the issues in the way that they ran on them. And I wholeheartedly agree. You can have somebody run your Twitter, but we want to see you actually working on this shit that you ran on, not gaslighting everybody. What do we have here? Oh, I got to bring a Jimmy one because we've got...
I feel that a new species of human has been identified as the ogre beast. That would be H.A. Goodman. I suggest people figure out what is his real name. That would take some sort of inside knowledge. I'm not a journalist. I have no access to anything but whatever is public domain. H.A. is not a real name. I suspect he is the son or nephew of CIA agent Melvin Goodman. People should check out this Shanda with a redneckonomics. They have to be related. That is my conclusion. I have Asperger's. I have perfect pitch. I also think I have the ability to make genetic calls. I can look at people, I can figure out the similarities, and then come up with an opinion if it's a match. I believe that this Shanda woman and redneckonomics are either mother and daughter or aunt and niece. I see it in the body, the shoulders, the face, facial movements they make. I think it's a clear match and not one that takes much debating. Then one should ask themselves, why are they gaslighting people like that? There must be others, not just myself, who can see that they're related. Why put on a fake wedding? Why say that Manitalk and Redneckonomics are married when it just seems too goofy to be true? Look at that Ebon Kim stuff. Ebon Kim is listed as an engineer for Consortium News. Joe Loria, that thing, that show, what is it, and Elizabeth Voss, that group which was promoting some alt-right people, such as Cassandra Fairbanks, linked to Brandon Darby and Tim Pool. They were promoting H.A. Goodman. Ebon Kim was promoting H.A. Goodman. H.A. Goodman was promoting a Breitbart Unmasked. This is COINTELPRO. They did not get away with it because at least myself noticed and recorded that they are COINTELPRO. Susie Dawson goes on Dore. Susie Dawson goes on Graham Elwood. Mitchell Helt from the Ebon Kim Manitalk Redneckonomics Eric H526 days goes on with Graham Elwood at least 5 times. They praise Chelsea Manning. They praise Julian Assange. They talk up military. They are targeting military. Chelsea Manning was military. I have written down in my notes that perhaps we can listen to a little bit of this guy, Lewis Mumford. His advice was for people to shut off the medium, to ignore it, because it's controlled by a few. Jimmy Dore is now making fun of AOC's body, of the way she is. That is proverbial throwing stones out of a glass home because Jimmy Dore has the most obvious cocaine jaw of anyone on the planet Earth.
It's Wednesday, September 5th, 2007, and you're watching The Ointment. I'm Steve Tatum, and I want to wish actor Michael Keaton a very happy birthday. You know what? He is a very handsome man, and I say that because, well, people say we look alike. I don't know. What do you think? Wednesdays here on the show, I invite a special guest in the studio. Today I have on comedian Graham Elwood, who's also a game show host. He hosted Cram on the Game Show Network and also Strip Poker. He's been seen on numerous television shows. But what I'd like to talk to Graham about today is his recent trip to Afghanistan to entertain the troops. That must have been a pretty amazing experience.
Yeah, it was one of the most amazing things I've ever done. I've told people that it was the most physically and emotionally challenging thing I've ever done and the most rewarding. And the soldiers, for anybody who's in the military out there, very appreciative, some of the best audiences I've ever had. But they love messing with civilians. They were a great audience, and you know, I made this DVD. It's over an hour worth of stuff from about 5 or 6 different bases, and I've intercut interviews with soldiers, and there's more interviews with soldiers, you know, in the special features, and I have photos and stuff that I took when I was over there, like me with the Afghanis and generals and on helicopters. And
what I'd like to do now, Graham, is show a clip from the video so people can get an idea of just the kind of intense experience that you had over there. Let's show the clip.
About 20 minutes away from doing the show. It's going to go on right behind that bunker. It's about 5:35, and I was just talking to some guys in the mess hall, and they were saying that right around this time of day is when they start shooting the rockets. The Taliban or whomever, Al-Qaeda, will just randomly shoot rockets. Fucking terrified. I'm scared out of my fucking mind. I'm glad I'm here and I want to entertain them, but I'll be fucking really happy when I'm home. There's a part of me that just wants to go home. I just want to go home. I've only been here a fucking day. But I gotta pull myself together and do the show. Let's go make them laugh. We get here, they're like, when your bird lands at the LZ, find your POC, they'll take you to the MWR tent, and then you can go to DFAC. What? I appreciate what you guys are. If you guys weren't doing the job you were doing, I wouldn't be able to be up here being a jackass. So I really appreciate that.
That looks incredible. So, Graham, tell us how we can get the video.
you can purchase my DVD, Graham Elwood Live from Afghanistan, on my website.
I have listed down that Schopenhauer basically admitted he had Asperger's. He's that German philosopher from way back when in the 19th century. I don't know how I can put that into today's show, this one, and I probably won't. If I don't get to it, it's basically out of that audiobook that's out there. And he said that all these great people had issues with sound. He's basically admitting to something only someone with Asperger's would be able to relate to. Get some screenshots I would like to read. I've made some comments, and I do not like to waste stuff. I learned that there's a band called Stuff, but I digress. So I got some screenshots. Jimmy Dore with Susie Dawson, who is an obvious cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs styled fake citizen journalist. Joe Luria, he called me many years ago after I had exposed Kimberlyn and Alexandrovna. I told him how I noticed the internet was rigged with fake convolution, not even organic nonsense. It was planted, it was rigged. He basically just wanted to see if I had proof of election fraud. At least that's how he phrased it while he was calling me. I mentioned Wayne Madston, some ex-NSA guy. Joe Luria vouched for him. He said that he had visited him and he's poor and disheveled and he can't always pick and choose what sources he uses. It was lame, but that's true testimony from myself that Joe Loria vouched for the integrity of obvious COINTELPRO asset whatnot Wayne Madston. I've left some comments here and there. Sorry if my presentation is not smoother. If anyone has any questions, I'm quite willing to attempt to answer them. We got Jimmy Dore promoting Susie Dawson. Down below, I took that other screenshot. I included it to link up Graham Elwood with Joe Loria, the Unity 4J. That is Susie Dawson. Goodman's involved. Cassandra Fairbanks, an obvious COINTELPRO tool. She's involved. Jimmy Dore's involved. Graham Elwood is so involved that he's crucial to any presentation that puts together how this is COINTELPRO, and that they're probably primarily targeting military left. Okay, here's something I wrote. It has nothing really to do with this other stuff. This is philosophy. I look at life as a puzzle. Everything is a mosaic. There's no reason to be linear about anything or to worry about rote. Okay, here goes. This is me. This is something I created. I strung together some words. Here goes. It seems we probably haven't changed much over tens of thousands of years, but the social structure did, making it much easier to identify sincerity from fakeness. Conformity is protected and given nourishment by the system. Unfortunately, that includes outdated authoritarian philosophies such as sensitivity is weakness, free thinking is subversion, everyone is a potential criminal, and only a few can be allowed platforms. The internet had leveled that sort of inbuilt inequality until everyone was herded into these big places, only to then have the ability to express oneself stymied through arbitrary decisions made by self-centered, ignorant people. I forget where I dropped all these comments. I know where I dropped some of them, but I must have dropped this one on a Jimmy Dore page. What about Jimmy Dore's jaw and jutting out his tongue? How disgusting is he? How can people forget he was tied to the hip of the Young Turks and now to a network of obvious military shills? That must have been on the one where he was making fun of AOC, saying she was putting herself into a pretzel. I forget exactly how he phrased it. Here it is. Yep, I did a thumbs down. That was the 29th thumbs down, I suppose. He's making fun of her. AOC twists into pretzels. That guy is so creepy. He's a fake comic. Anyone can go on a stage. You had Dustin Hoffman playing Lenny Bruce in a movie. That doesn't mean Dustin Hoffman is a comedian. You had what's-his-face, De Niro. He was the king of comedy. I should be able to track down a screenshot in the archives to add. Robert De Niro is not a comedian just because he played one. Jimmy Dore, Ron Placone, Graham Elwood, Joe Rogan, none of them are comedians. We can now see that Graham Elwood was placed just like Rogan was. Elwood ended up being gift wrapped game shows. He was a moron from a community college. I'm not putting down community college or anyone who goes to them. Let's keep it legit. Community college is pretty much a transition place from high school to college. It's for people who probably fell behind a little bit, or maybe they were in a really bad school, so the odds were stacked against them. So we can't just judge someone because they went to a community college, but we can question when untalented, obvious fake comedians end up with these prestigious influencer jobs. You can question who they're tied to, what they keep plugging, and how totally inorganic it all is. There's Goodman. He's not spelling the name Powell correctly. He's a very scary looking guy. He's what I am now referring to as an ogre beast. It's a five-fingered animal. I picked up the five-fingered animal from the Navajo dude.